If you're not sitting at home in full uniform, ready to watch the Magic and the Bulls, what are you doing?
What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I just figured I'd point that out to get us started.
That's going to be all game, isn't it?
Might be. Stay tuned.
Oh, we're getting going right now.
I tell you, you wait, though. When I see DeMar DeRozan, I'm going to be all...
Oh, wow. Don't be a Bulls fan now.
I'm not a
they're
Bulls fan.
salty. I mean, but they're being too much.
I
don't want you to be too much, too. Cause
I'm only salty because salt was sprinkled upon us.
That's
I
true.
didn't ask for the salt.
And you're seasoned well.
A Montreal steak seasoning, what would it say?
Welcome to Court Cousins. Two cousins sharing laughs and talking the team they love, the Orlando Magic. Let's get into it.
Welcome, everybody, to Court Cousins, episode 12. My name is Kyle. I'm joined by my cousin, my co-host, Jason the Pich. We're recording this on Tuesday, February 1st, ahead of the Bulls game. We're going to be watching that in just a little bit. We've got a great show, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to check in with each other for our ROLO check-in. We're going to put the social media roundup on ice for this episode and do a roundup of our recent trip to Orlando. Pich will tell us what I learned in the most recent stint of games. We'll play a little fact or fiction. And we will talk about the trade deadline with On the Move, finishing off, as we do always, with our Court Cousins Championship. We recently crowned a champion for our last round, so we've got a fresh slate of wagers on our Orlando Magic ahead. As always, we want to check in with each other. We're cousins. We love each other. We want to see how each other's doing. And Pich is downstairs in my house, so I do kind of know what he's doing, how he's doing. But, you know, just for the people out there, Pich, how are you doing on the spectrum of a Robin Lopez for our ROLO check-in, sir?
Well, today, because we, in our two games in Orlando, didn't get to see the majestic Rolo in motion on the court, I've decided to select this GIF of him in motion, giving us the thumbs up over and over. It's a beaut. You love to see it. And because I also got a foam finger, it's a very finger-related start to this podcast for me, but they're all up. They're all positive. I'm actually in Bridgeport because I moved some stuff here today. I'll be in about a month, probably living right 2 blocks away watching your folks' house. So it's going to change the show a little bit for the better. And that's why it's a thumbs up from this guy. We're all good. We're feeling good after the visit. We're going to talk about it in a second. And I'm loving it, man. How are you feeling on the ROLO check-in? You got the vibe.
Yeah, I got the gift vibe. For my Rolo check-in, I took a photo of Rolo off his Instagram from his modeling shoot, perhaps. He's looking very suave, very debonair here. He's got the spectacles on, looking very intelligent. This is the most kempt I've ever seen his hair, and I think my lady would agree. I'm entering the home stretch of my grad school. I feel like I've been in school forever. As a teacher, just keep going back for more. I'm a masochist, I guess. I just keep liking the pain. And now I'm just trying to drag my decrepit carcass over the finish line so that I think I'll be done with schooling forever. So I got the spectacles on. I'm feeling studious. Also did some research for our On the Move segment later about some possible trade deadline moves and also for some of our wagers. So just feeling studious, feeling very learned today. So I had a little.
I was going to comment about how Rolo looks like a guy who's going to offer me a fucking microbrew. You guys got to try the latest microbrew.
Yeah, and I haven't had a microbrew lately. When we were down in Orlando, I wasn't on the lookout for that. I was on the lookout for some Michelob Ultras, and that was just one part of our trip down to Orlando. For folks watching on YouTube, you're going to see a little snippet of our trip down there.
Yes, baby. Let's go. Let's fucking go.
The hunt begins. Observe things of our teams in stores. Hey, this is Foot Locker, and we're near Orlando, right?
Yeah, we're in Orlando, yeah. This is just sad.
What's happening?
We've been ill.
What is this? These are the teams we're playing soon.
I'm baffled.
I want to boycott this Foot Locker in the Florida Mall.
Listeners, we're just gonna get right into it right now. Pich, what were some of the highlights from the Court Cousins takeover of Orlando? We were down there for the Lakers and the Bulls games. Give me your highlights, sir.
Bro, for me, there's just so much to talk about with this. We could almost burn the whole show talking about this trip. It was a lot of fun. We will talk about the games a little bit later and what I learned. But, man, for me, it was just awesome to be down there and be a part of that. It had been far too long since I've been to a game there. I'd never been to the Amway Center. It was the arena when I had went before. But being a chance to get there and go do that stuff with you was awesome. There was a lot of stuff that threw me back to my early days of going to games down there, because the first thing I ever bought there was a foam finger, and my original foam finger busted a long time ago, and I had to throw it away. So got one of these and was excited about it. And also, like, just the little things we would do in and outside the games that I used to do with, my dad or our uncles, that we did all around Florida, that just, really kind of made this a great experience, including getting autographs from players who actually played on the 89 team, which is just amazing. And it was a great way to cap things off. To me, there was we didn't find Michelob Ultra cans, and we lost the game to the Lakers, but you have to really nitpick from our standpoint to find negative stuff to say about this trip. For me, this was fantastic. If you don't live near the Orlando Magic, you're in the UK, you're in Australia, you're wherever you are, you should plan to come over and go to a few games and just take in the whole experience. It's a lot of fun. You watch it on TV all the time, and then to be able to actually be there and be a part of it, it was pretty special, and I was pretty stoked. And to be able to do that with you too was awesome, because we both had some of the same experiences going on there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, tons of highlights. It was great to just be down there and have some camaraderie. We talked on the last pod about pretty much the majority of my life I've been going to Magic games as an away fan, which does have its strengths. When you're walking through an enemy arena, as it were, and you see another Magic fan, there's that instantaneous bond. But that's it. You don't get the camaraderie. I think my favorite highlight was we were lucky enough to go with the Reddit game night on the Bulls Sunday night. And shout out to Migzors and everyone who came to that. It was an awesome time. And it was so nice. We had a whole row and we really went hard. And of course, the Magic won. So it was such a new and different experience for me to be surrounded by Magic fans when we were winning and have that energy flowing through the whole section there. We did not have that energy on Friday night when we were up in the 200 sections, and I thought we were in Los Angeles. I thought we'd gotten off the wrong plane or something. It was just, yellow and purple all around us, which, was fun in and of itself. We got some back and forth going with the guys in front of us, and we had a dap up after the game. That was fun. I think the other highlight, though, as a part of that Reddit experience, we went onto the court after and cut down the nets. That was cool. But I had imbibed many whiskeys, and I saw Jeff Turner. I saw him right when I was stepping on. I'm like, oh man, I got to go over and talk to him. David Steele's over there. Got to go over. We had just got some cards too. So I'm like, I'm going to get him to sign my card. And I went over there, and I could tell the Reddit handler, like our group handler, was like, "Oh no," because he knew I was kind of, walking
Yeah.
a little crossways. So he was like, "Oh my God, what's this guy gonna do?" And I went beeline right to Jeff Turner, and he was just such
So
a
nice.
gentleman and a scholar. And
Yep.
the Reddit handler was like, "Okay, guys, he's got to go. And I tried to make it quick. He signed our cards. We had a couple laughs. I was like, "You're next in the Hall of Fame, man. You got to go in there. You got to go in there." And he was so humble about it. He was like, "Oh no, my man David Steele's in there this year." And I'm like, "Yes, David Steele, you rock." And I think that was just a highlight, having that FaceTime with those guys. Also, Dante and Nick Anderson were fantastic to us. We kicked it respectfully. We were watching the pregame show because we don't get to see that when we're live. We're not at home. We can't see the show. And we just went there and we were just enjoying it. And after every segment, when they would close and go to commercial break, we just clap it up for them like, "Gentlemen, awesome job, awesome job." And we watched for a couple segments, and we didn't want to intrude. I didn't want to be pressy about an autograph or anything because they're doing their job. I don't want to get in the way of that. And after a couple of times of us watching and clapping it up, "Gentlemen, good job," Nick Anderson says, "Oh, you guys want some autographs? Come over. And they were just so courteous. Dante, Nick Anderson, Jeff Turner, David Steele. I know you guys are listening and watching. Thanks so much for the hospitality. I think that was really what it was all about. Some of that Orlando hospitality.
Yeah, it sure was. The minute Nick Anderson signed that rookie card that I brought that I've had since 89, 90, that really encapsulated a lot for me. That was pretty huge, but it was great to talk to all those guys. They were super friendly. And as guys who are looking to get into the game, it was fun to be able to talk to them and sit and watch the show. And yeah, it's kind of hard to put into words. I've tried to just now. And it really isn't doing it as much justice as it was. It was a lot of fun. We're already kind of talking about going down to try to do this again next year. Hopefully we pick a team that doesn't bring as many away fans, but we were equipped to handle it. It was weird that the whole section was Lakers on that Friday night, but who better equipped to handle that than us? So
we were ready. We came back. Unfortunately, our team didn't really back us up in the second half. They didn't give us much to quip back about, but it was great being down there. Learned a lot about the area, and just as an adult being there for kind of one of the first times on my own without being there with others, with our uncles. And I know you've learned a lot recently too, Pich. You're a smart guy. You're an observant gentleman. Right. And so now it's time to tell us what you learned in this segment, what I learned. Pich goes down the recent stretch of games and gives us some of his takeaways, insights, and hilarity from the games that have passed. What do you got for us today, Pich?
All right. Well, I'm going to mix in some of our trip as part of this, what I learned, because it's all about what you learn. And I know you're all about learning, as we learned in our ROLO check-in. So let's keep it going.
Lifelong learning, baby. Put it on.
The first game in this little segment was 76ers 123-110 loss. I was in Florida for this one, and I got blocked out by NBA.TV, so I could not watch it live. I actually got hit with that one. I had to watch the highlights then I rewatched the game later. The big thing to note here was Bamba had a breakout game. He had 28 points by halftime, but he only finished with 32. Yeah. So you can't really tell what kind of Mo you're going to get from time to time, but he was hitting from three on this game, and he was kind of stretching it out.
He broke out, and then he went back into the closet. He broke out, and then he went away again.
He for sure did.
Yeah.
Embiid drops 50 on us. I don't know what there is about playing the Orlando Magic that you got to drop a 50 on us. But
there he is.
I guess between Jalen Brown and now Embiid, and I don't know if there's been anybody else, but people seem to get up for these games against us.
Hopefully not DeMar tonight or Zach LaVine. Let's just say that. I don't want to put that out there. None of that.
No. None of that stuff. This was one of those games that was close until late in the third and the fourth, and then the Sixers pulled away. A little bit of a theme that we've kind of seen throughout the year, and we'll see throughout this stretch of games here. Okeke had 18 points, which was great. I think this was the first of his "I'm coming out and I'm balling now" games, which is fantastic. He played very well over the stretch. We'll talk about him more in a bit. Then we go to the Lakers game. This is where we were in the house. This is where Shaquille O'Neal was in the house. Hedo Turkoglu was there.
Yes, they knew we were coming.
Yeah, it was exciting. Yeah, LeBron was there, and Russell Westbrook, and the Lakers won 116-105. We did a wrap up actually of all of these games at the end of each quarter on our social media. If you want to check out on IG, they are there. They're a little more in depth from quarter to quarter, which is pretty fun. this is another one of those games where we played well. We had the lead at halftime, and then things start to slip away in the third. We only scored 16 points in that third. That's not going to get things done.
Nope.
And then the Lakers kind of showed their might, pulled away, and we had a little run at the end to kind of make the score a little more respectable. An 11-point loss doesn't look as bad as it actually got in the fourth quarter. LeBron went for 29, 5, and 7. Carmelo Anthony's who really killed us in this game.
Yeah, man.
He had 23 points. Westbrook put in 18, 7, and 11. And he had one nice conversation with Shaq courtside, who I'm sure you've all seen the memes at this point, talking about how he's playing too fast and getting in a little bit of an argument. But Shaq knows what he sees. He's a pretty smart guy when it comes to watching the game and evaluating the talent. So, and if you really want to get down to it, the turnovers in this game, Westbrook only had 3. You know who had 6? LeBron James.
Ooh.
So, and then for the Magic, Suggs with 22 and 9 for us, he really started to emerge in this game. And then it rolls right over into this next game. As we on Sunday then got to see the Bulls. But before we got inside to see the Bulls, man, I had no idea, and neither did you, how big the Buffalo Bills community is in Orlando, Florida.
The hairy
Buffalo goes hard, and they go hard for the Buffalo Bills. And for me personally, it made it one of the best days of all time. And it sucked that the Bills didn't win in the end, but it was still a best day ever nominee for me because it was fun to hang out with that many fans of Magic fans and Bills fans in the same day. A kid from Vermont who likes these two obscure teams gets to party like that with his home fans. It just isn't going to happen that often. So it was fun. But to the game, a 114-95 victory. Again, we did check-ins for this game on IG. If you want to see them, you could start to hear Kyle's voice go away as we get to the third and fourth quarter.
From whiskey to whiskey to whiskey, it just kept going away.
I mean, I got to the point where I lost track, but I'm not here to keep track of the stats on your drinking. We were just there to have a good time. We had the lead at halftime, and we maintained. The Bulls had a good run in the third where I thought, oh, here's the run. It looked like that moment where, here's the run where they come back. We countered with an 8-0 run of our own, and Suggs had highlight jams. I'm sure you've seen these highlight jams played everywhere. It was awesome to be there for him. He was popping the jersey and pissing off Bulls fans.
Oh, man, they're pissed.
You've had some interaction with this week, and I know we're playing them tonight, so I don't know if they're going to be mad about it.
They've been losing sleep. Let me tell you, I got into it with a couple. I don't know.
This is why I don't believe in the Bulls, man. Anytime you bring them up as a good team, I don't believe in them because they're worried about the Orlando Magic, the team with the worst record in the NBA. When you're trying to be doing first place in the Eastern Conference things, like just move on with your day. They were depleted. They didn't have some of their guys that they should normally have. So I mean.
It's not like we're overly zealous about this. We know that they were hampered. That was a game that we had a chance in, and we won. We weren't delusional about it. And it's like the Lakers and this. That's why I don't believe in the Lakers too. If you're pumping your chest or taking things personal against the Orlando Magic this year, you got problems. That's not what a winning team does. That's not what a winning culture does. You got to focus eyes on the prize here. Bulls fans, nothing personal. I don't know why you're losing sleep over it, but Jalen Suggs is going to dunk on you again tonight.
Let's hope so. Our bench played very well in this game. Moritz had 23 off the bench. You had predicted that Iggy was going to need to play big, and he did. He had 11 points. Okeke chipped in another 11. Bamba only played 6 minutes in this game because he had foul trouble, but it kind of worked out. His style of play didn't seem to really be needed for what we did against the Bulls, and it worked out well, and it worked out for a victory. And man, what a game, what a day it was for us. But then we move. You got anything else to say on that before I move on?
No. Continue on, sir. Continue on.
Here we go. So then it gets back to an L, but it's the Clippers 111-102. First off, I'll start out with some naming fun because the Clippers center Zubac sounds like animatronics at an animal sanctuary, and then they have some scrub who wears number 10 who comes off the bench. The Magic had really great ball movement in this game. We were getting to the line, scoring on fast breaks, and again, playing very well for 3 quarters. And then at some point, the referees were just like, oh, hey, man, we're going to start calling all these fouls on the Magic now. So in the fourth quarter alone, the Clippers were 23 for 25 from the free throw line. And I feel like that was a big part of the reason this game got away from us. I don't usually complain about refs too much.
Yeah.
They were favoring us maybe a little too much for the first 3 quarters. And then it was like they realized they had to try to even things up and they just went way too hard in the fourth, and it hurt our chances. The Clippers could have been out of this game if not for their 3-point shooting. They shot 51% from three. Otherwise, the Magic could have had a huge lead even going into the fourth quarter that they wouldn't have been able to come back from. But I just felt like it was a little egregious to have that many free throw attempts in one quarter after having, I believe they only had 2 or 3 going into the fourth quarter.
That's crazy.
I can't imagine the Magic started to foul that much more. It just seemed like a mistake was made.
Yeah.
Then we get on to the Pistons, a 119-103 win. The Magic led by 20 after the first quarter and just maintained the lead the whole game. They had fantastic ball movement again. I'm going to talk about this at the end, but I got to mention it. The defined bench roles. Everybody has a role now. No one's out. No one's injured. People are realizing where they're coming from and where they're playing, and the team is gelling, and you can see it, and it looks good. It is awesome. Rodney McGruder from the Pistons stepped away from his new series streaming on Peacock to drop 10 from the bench, but he could not avoid the explosion from a wicked Suggs block. Wicked. And we'll talk about Suggs and his blocks later. But the Pistons bench had 4 guys in double figures in this one. It was their starters that really let them down. Hamidou came out masked early in this one, but he was no superhero at all. He finished with 6 points. And Cade Cunningham had 8 points, 4 assists, and 2 boards. He played 30 minutes. He was 3 for 17, 0 for 5 from 3. I'm just saying it right now. Cade Cunningham is trash. And maybe he plays well against other teams.
Oh, that's a bit much. That's a bit much.
In the last 2 games I've seen him play against the Magic, he's shot very terribly. I think he's 0 for 11 from 3, and he's not making other players on his team better around him. So he's not really helping them by being on the court. Some of their bench players were playing better.
He feels the Franz fear. That's what it is, Pich, when he comes up against us. I mean, it's insulting that Cade is still number 1 in the rookie ladder, and Franz continues to consistently put up game after game and make him look foolish in this game. I mean, they were side by side here. If you want a side by side comparison, here it is. Franz stepped up, had a big game, and Cade disappeared.
Yeah, Franz didn't play too well last game either when they went head to head, to be fair.
True.
But and Cade had a big game the night before.
Right. He dropped 30 or something like that. Yeah.
But man, I expected him to be more of a facilitator if his shot wasn't falling, but he just really kind of fell in the background. Maybe it was just an off game. Maybe I've just seen 2 off games for Cade Cunningham. But the one other Pistons game I watched, it didn't involve the Magic. I didn't feel like he played that well either. He only had like 14 points. So I'm not sure what the hype is about yet, but I understand all these players are young and they're coming up. But he just doesn't impress me so far.
No.
So
it's that league bias, man. The league wants Cade Cunningham to be the face, to be that guy. I'm really not sure who's doing these rookie ladders, but again, I'm taking it personally. Franz probably doesn't even give one hoot, but the guy, he just won another rookie of the week. Like, he won rookie of the month, rookie of the week. Like, how does he drop to 5? Like, it doesn't make any logical sense.
All right, so the last game in this one is against the Mavericks, a 110-108 win. What is that? It's a win streak, my friend. The first of the season, back-to-back dubs, and 3 out of the last 4.
That's what that feels like.
You gotta love they're getting the Court Cousins rub.
Yeah,
it feels good.
Well, you have to pay extra for that. You have to pay extra for the Court Cousins rub. That's the happy ending. You got to get.
I was gonna say, as long as it's a happy ending, everybody's happy. And I learned in this one what a Jalen Brunson was. He's maybe a better player than you thought he was going to be. The Magic trailed by as much as 11 in the first, but kind of stormed back to take the lead by halftime. Almost threw it away in the fourth quarter. Only 19 points in the fourth quarter, but it was enough to win. The defense at the end of this game just got stifling. I feel like it was 108 for like the last 3 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Franz hit 1 bucket, and that was kind of the difference in this thing. 7 players for the Magic in double figures in this one. Cole still hasn't gotten his shooting touch back, but he had 16 points in this one. He was finding a way to get to the free throw line and finding a way to get those runners going. And I think that's going to eventually get him back into our game. 14 and 14 for WCJ, and Chuma with 19 off the bench, including 3 steals. He's balling.
My boy.
Overall, during this set of game, I just the last two games, I didn't take a ton of notes because I've gotten so used to taking notes on what are things we need to improve or what's things I noticed that aren't working. Things are working in those last two games. That the bench rolls are really helping us. You can just tell that like it's good to know who's coming off the bench and what their role is and how many minutes guys are getting. And you can see it's making a huge difference for these guys. And I still think, even though Cole's shot isn't falling, that between him and Suggs, they're the glue. The one of them stays out with the bench squad and kind of runs things. And you could hear they had Cole mic'd up the other night, and you could hear him. He's moving guys around on defense. He's kind of a quarterback out there, and he's leading guys around. And of course, we all know Suggs was a quarterback, so he's one too. These guys are doing a lot more than shows up on the stat sheet for us, and it is so awesome to see.
Yeah.
It's great to see that their good play is translating into winning 3 of these last 4 games. Regardless of what happens from the rest of the season, you can see that we have pockets of greatness here. This is the kind of stuff we've been talking about all year, and we're finally getting to see it. And lastly, I've been noticing lately that whenever I think of something and I'm about to bring it up, it seems like Jeff Turner brings it up in the next break, whether it's the German national team. Oh, they've got the German national team's really good. They got Hartenstein and they got Schrader, and then they bring it up.
Maxi Kleber, yeah.
So it seems like no matter what I'm thinking lately, those guys kind of throw it out there. And I don't know if that's because we're vibing because of the meeting
right.
What,
I think that we had that kind of connection, that psychic kind of connection there.
I don't want to regurgitate the things they bring up on the show. So the minute they bring it up, I'm like, well, now I can't talk about it. But it's good to know that we're on the same train of thought as the guys who are covering the game for the Magic, because it makes me feel like we're doing something right, because people love those guys and I love them too. So hopefully,
absolutely.
Heroes. That's what I learned, my friend.
Well, Pich, so many truths, so many facts you just dropped, and we're going right into some more facts, or perhaps some fictions. In our next segment, fact or fiction, we're going to present some statements, and then Pich and I will go back and forth and say whether or not that statement is fact or it is fiction. So Pich, you just did a lot of talking. You get a breath over there, get some H2O break. I'll present the first statement, and then I will say whether I think that is fact or fiction. First one, you mentioned it a little bit there. Chuma has been heating up. We've all been waiting for it. We've seen that the defense has been consistent, but the shot hasn't been falling, and now it's starting to go down. He's getting to the rim off the dribble. You know, I think maybe with people getting healthy, the whole squad's around, he's getting more open looks too. That's helping. The guy has been averaging about 24 minutes a game, 13.3 points, 4.8 rebounds, 2.2 assists, and 1.5 steals. And so just an amazing defensive presence while guarding the best guy on the other team most times. So the fact or fiction statement here is Chuma Okeke is the most important player off the Orlando Magic bench. And for all of those reasons and those statistics that I just brought up, I'm going to go ahead and say fact. I know Chuma had some doubters out there when he started slowly, and he started kind of slowly last season, but he's coming back into form and showing us the player that we all know that he can be. This guy is a big wing. I mean, he's a big dude, a true 3-and-D guy who can guard the best player on the other team. And most of the time around the league, the best player happens to be a wing, one of those, forwards that can shoot and create off the dribble. And we've got a stopper. And I mean, some of the other guys coming off the bench right now who I'm kind of comparing him against would be T. Ross, Gary Harris, and of course, Ignas Brazdeikis. I can't forget my boy Iggy. But, really, all joking aside, the two big ones are T. Ross and Gary Harris right now. Gary Harris has moved back to that bench role. And between those two, I would be like the last two that I'd be comparing him to is Gary Harris. It's between Gary and Chuma for me, because for a lot of the same reasons, I think they bring a lot to the table that's very similar. I think Gary Harris is a tremendous defender, but he's guarding the guards on the team. So still a valuable position. A lot of great guards around the league. I just like a little bit more what Chuma brings with his length, the deflections. He gets a little bit more deflections, a little bit more steals, and his size. He has the potential to get some more rebounds. Gary Harris isn't pulling down 5 rebounds, and Chuma is. So for that reason, and also I think the fact that Chuma is more in line with this core. I know that doesn't really what the statement is getting at, but he kind of gels with the team a little bit more. We don't know what's happening with Gary. So I'm going to say Chuma is the most important player off the bench. That is a fact. Pich, what do you think, sir?
Well, before I get any further, you just made a lot of great points about Chuma, and I pointed at myself when you talked about people who doubted him, because I was definitely one of the doubters, and he's been balling out of his last series of games. But there was one game in that pack where I wrote, Chuma, stop shooting threes. I think he was like 0 for 7.
Yeah.
And maybe he needed to wrap it up. So he's either hot or he's not. And if he's not, he needs to just realize it and stop shooting. But man, his play off the bench has been clutch, and I'm not here to throw shade on the guy right now because he's balling out. And if he continues to play this way, I mean, the sky's the limit. That's fantastic. That's what you need off the bench for sure. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is fiction, and I'm going to mention a guy's name that you didn't bring up at all off our bench, and that's Moritz Wagner. This guy is balling.
I'm sorry, Moritz. I'm sorry. Disrespectful. I'm sorry.
Balling, my dude. Like, we need a big man to come off the bench, and if Mo's not feeling it or he's in foul trouble like he was in that one game where we won, Mo is scoring at a high rate. I got to say right now, if I had my little sign here with me, had I brought it, it would probably say Moritz for most improved player. Because is there anybody else who thought Moritz would be a factor on this team this year or even get minutes? At one point, we were talking about him being the guy that goes in when the game is over. And so now he's going to get some minutes. And he has transformed himself into a player that not only can score, he can defend the inside. He gets under other guys' skin, which has a value, people. And to me, that's huge. Off the bench, Chuma's good. But we also have Ross. We also have Harris that can kind of do the same thing, guard the same player. We don't have another one of those Moritz Wagners coming off the bench. And that's no slight to ROLO, but Moritz Wagner off the bench right now is clutch to this team. The way he plays that 2-man ball and gets open and finds ways we're getting scoring off the bench because of Chuma and because of Moritz. It hasn't been because Ross has been particularly hot lately. It's mostly because those guys are finding a way to get loose and score, and Gary Harris has been hot from his corner where he loves it. But I got to say fiction on Chuma. But, man, it could be any of those 3 guys right now. But I think I like Moritz more because we don't have another person that can do what he does.
Yeah, he's definitely embraced that. I don't know if enforcer is the right word, but he definitely gets under people's skin. And there, as you said, there is value in that. He riles up. I mean, Luka Doncic was definitely thinking about it in the last game.
He knows who he is now.
Yeah, he knows who he is. And DeMar DeRozan in the last game that we were at got into it. He shoved Moritz Wagner. So if you're Moritz Wagner, you're coming off the bench and you're getting superstar level guys. DeMar DeRozan, a starter in the All-Star game. Luka Doncic, is Luka Doncic. If these guys are thinking about you, Moritz Wagner, that's a huge win. That is their attention moved slightly, and that maybe is the difference in the game. So that's a great point, Pich.
I'm telling you, man, if I was doing a podcast of another team and we played the Magic, I'd be like, what's up Moritz Wagner, right? Like, because I wouldn't have known about him before the season, but this time he would be on my sheet. He would be in my game notes because he's making an impact. So that's why I say Moritz.
The German hammer. We love the German hammer here on the Court Cousins Germany. He is so good. We love him. We need more Moritz minutes, more. All right. Well, thank you, Court Cousins Germany, for stepping in there. The next one, Pich. This is big news now. This is big news. We have a storied history in this franchise of dunk contest participants, and Cole Anthony has tossed his hat, his headband into the ring. So the statement, Pich, I'll throw this one to you first. Cole Anthony will win the dunk contest.
Can you tell me the names of the other fellas that are in this thing? So
yes, I'll remind. So I think it was recently announced. We have Jalen Green, Juan Toscano Anderson, and Obi Toppin.
Not sure what that middle guy's name is. I'll have to look it up later. I don't know who he is. Who's he play for?
Juan Toscano Anderson. I believe he plays for the Golden State Warriors.
That sounds like something I would order at Olive Garden, but I've never seen this guy. I don't know what he's about. Obi Toppin's a funny name too, but I already know this guy, so I'm not going to go ahead and make any of those jokes. Man, I got to say, I'm wearing his uni today, and I really wanted to pop it because when we figured out who the judges were, you got Mr. Spud Webb. I see D Brown in there. There's a couple of little guys that like to dunk, former champs, and I think that they may have a little soft spot for the small guys that are going up to dunk. But man, I don't know. I've seen some highlights recently of him dunking because I was sort of like, man, I see him dunk once in a while and he has to like really kind of struggle to get up there and throw down a two-hander. I got to say fiction on this one. I want him to win so badly, but Obi Toppin's a sweet dunker, man. He's got some hops and I think he can do some stuff. I don't know who the Juan Toscano guy is, so I can't say whether he's good or not, but he must be a decent dunker if he doesn't play for a team, but yet can still work his way in. So maybe he's the dark horse. I don't know, but man, I know I'm going to be rooting for Cole, but I think it's Obi Toppins to win here.
Not loyal. So unloyal. You're not supposed to answer this question honestly, Pich. You're supposed to just get in the corner and wave the Cole banner. I thought you were going to go with it there. We've got some guards here. We have Jason Richardson, former Magic. You know, he played for the Magic for a little while, also played for the Warriors, but we're not going to mention that. He played for the Magic for a while. We got D Brown, Spud Webb, the other
also
judges.
Played for the Magic, as did Dominique Wilkins.
We got Dominique Wilkins. There you go. I learned that. And Josh Smith. So we got two big guys and three kind of guards. So the guard judges lean that way. I'm going to say they're going to respect the ups of Cole. He's going to do Cole. I mean, look at this group. Who has the most personality? Cole Anthony. He's going to the dunk contest.
No question about that.
This is fact. I forgot to say that up front. This is fact. He's got the most personality, and the dunk contest is about how you can ham it up. Can you do some theatrics? Can you jump over a car? Can you put on a cape and dunk? These are the things that people want to see. Whatever. These are the things that people want to see. And I think Cole is just going to be creative and going to have some fun things going on, get some others involved. And so Cole Anthony will win the dunk contest.
I mean, that's a good angle to take for sure. But as you're making the point about the props and all the fun, I mean, obviously he's money, man. And there's no better interview in the NBA post game probably than Cole Anthony right now. But I don't know if he can do the jumping over cars things and all those things that kind of take it to the next level. But I'm pretty sure Obi Toppin could jump a Kia. So I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. This has been a hot topic in the Magic community lately. We were all expecting to see Markelle back by now. So I'm going to give you this statement. Markelle or J.I. will play before the All-Star break. Is that fact or fiction, Pich?
That's fiction. I think these guys don't come back until after the All-Star break. I think it seems like Kell is closer. I don't know if J.I. is just taking the year off now and doing other projects or what the story is with him. But I think that if we end up making a trade, as we'll talk about in a bit, and we have that spot to fill, that Markelle can come in and fill it. But I don't see that necessarily happening too much before the All-Star break enough that we have to bring him back. I think the plan has probably been the whole time to bring him back after the All-Star break because he seems ready now from what we see. Yeah. So they must have had a plan in place and they must just be sticking to it. And that seems like a good stop point and a start point. So I would say fiction.
I can't believe that I'm agreeing with you now. I'm going to say it's fiction that Markelle or J.I. will play before the All-Star break. We talked about this on the last pod. When we planned our trip for the January games down to Orlando, I thought for sure Markelle and J.I. would be back. There would be a good time. Plenty of time to see the whole squad in action, and we'd be able to go down there. But now it just seems, I mean, Markelle's been traveling with the team for like over a month now. And that would be a clear indication that he's ready to go. We've been seeing videos. Thank you, Kobe Price. Thank you, Kobe Price, Orlando Sentinel reporter. He's always sending out video of Markelle full contact in practice, practicing with other guys. Seems to be totally fine.
You love to see it.
Yeah, but still not back. And I heard on the Ozone podcast, I think it was Al made the point, similar to the point that you just made about, you know what? I think this is a front office thing where just They want to dangle Terrence Ross and Gary Harris out there a little bit more and get them more minutes, because if Kel comes back, immediately one of those two guys, their minutes are drastically cut. So who wants to trade for a player that they haven't really seen? Not as many suitors probably for Terrence Ross or Gary Harris. So I imagine that's the plan. Like you said, that they're going to allow Terrence Ross and Gary Harris to get more minutes. The plan must be, if we're reading between the lines there, that one or both of those guys are going to head out, and then Markelle will come back after. Who knows, to your point about when J.I. will come back. I just hope that Jeff Weltman and John Hammond are being totally honest with everybody in the locker room, particularly Gary and Terrence. And I'm sure they've had conversations, at least I hope they've had conversations about Terrence and Gary's expectations about this trade deadline and what they're okay with and what they're not okay with. Because if they haven't, and you're Gary Harris and Terrence Ross, and you see Markelle traveling with the team in practice, looks fine, and it must see in the back of your head, like, why isn't this guy playing yet? It must just be because I'm on the block. I mean, it wouldn't be hard to put 2 and 2 together. Gary Harris and Terrence Ross, smart guys, they're going to figure that out. But I imagine, and I hope, because everything we've heard about this front office is that they are honest to a fault sometimes with players. They're upfront and honest, brutally so, with players. And I think even though it might hurt in the moment, that is good in the long run. People respect honesty in the long run, and that will play out well for our franchise. So totally expecting them to play after the All-Star break. Maybe a better factor fiction will J.I. even play this season. That would, who knows about that? But that's another segment.
Save that for another show.
Yeah. So, I mean, with some little trade talk right there, and the possibility of players moving, players coming in, players going out, let's talk about the potential of some players coming in the draft, Pish. And a lot of people, a lot of Magic fans, for good reason, have the name Chet Holmgren circled on their draft board. He played with Jalen Suggs. Makes sense. He's supposed to be this unicorn 7-footer center. So the statement I present to you right now, Pish, Chet Holmgren is the player I want for the Magic next year. Fact or fiction, sir?
Well, it's tough. I've got to, as I always do with fact or fiction, I take it seriously. I understand I'm being asked this question right now and can add no hypotheticals or anything to said question. So right now I'm going to say fiction. I don't know if he's the best player. I still haven't seen enough of him and all of the other players near that are talked about as being near the top to really get a feel. Right now, my eye test is telling me he is not the best player available. I think he might be the best fit, but right. I don't think that is what we want. We want to get the best player, and if we have to move some other parts later, that's a good problem to have. I would have to say I'd go with Paolo Banchero right now. Is I think perhaps the most complete player, and could be the best player. But again, I still need to keep watching these games and seeing these things. Chet must be doing something right, because like I pointed out to you last night, they lost Kispert and Suggs off a team that lost one game all of last season, and they've still only lost twice to this point. So they must have reloaded pretty good there. Yeah. And he must be doing something right, but I don't know. He still looks a little skinny for me. I want him to put some weight on. I don't know.
So skinny. So
what do you think?
If I'm answering Chet Holmgren as a player I want for the Magic next year in the draft, I would say fiction. I would say fiction too. I mean, I do want a center, and he's the most highly touted center. Absolutely. I just don't know if he can play center in the NBA,
right? At
least for another 3 or 4 years to the end of his rookie scale contract. And then, what's going to happen then, dude? So that's a lot of projection into the future to say I want him right now.
Right.
The problem that I run into, Pish, is that the other players at the top of the draft aren't centers. I think that's our biggest need. And I know maybe we should be drafting for talent right now, but I want a center. I think we've got a great center in Wendell Carter Jr., but I'm not impressed with Mo. Mo Mamba, he's put in a lot of work. a hell of a basketball player. I'm not convinced. And I wish him the best somewhere else, but just not here. I'm sorry. And
Wow.
Chet Holmgren looks like Mo Bamba. Like it's the same dude. I haven't watched a lot of Chet, but I did kind of practice this theory the other day. I watched some Chet Holmgren highlights, and then I watched some Mo Bamba University of Texas highlights. And it's like, oh, this is the same dude coming out of college. It looks like.
Right.
Now
So it looks scary. Yeah.
It looks scary to me. The thing though that does bother me most about Mo is none of his talent and his skill. It's really just between the ears. He's just sometimes not in the right place. He still is like coming down with his hands and not going straight up on defense and getting into foul trouble still. It's like, come on, man. It's your 4th year and you're still getting in these issues with the fouls. It's crazy. You can't be a rim protector if you're sitting on the bench. And right. I just see too many similarities in the game between Chet and Mo for me to be ready to go in with that pick. So I'm going to go more towards, a Apollo Banchero or a Jabari Smith. So, those guys are like 6'9", 6'10", respectively, over 200 pounds. They're both, averaging, Paulo's 18 points a game, about Jabari's about 15 points. Paulo's probably been the biggest stat stuffer. And if we're just drafting for talent, I guess we go with Paulo Banchero. How does that fit with, we already have Franz. We just talked about how much we love Chuma. We have J.I. coming back, who's supposed to be a 4. So that forward rotation is getting a little crowded, but I think we could still, we want to go for talent. And I think Paulo Banchero can potentially be a better player than Chuma, perhaps, or just have that as a 3-wing rotation, be able to rotate those guys. Cause being 6'9", Franz is 6'10", they can play 4. They can play the 4. J.I. can play the 5, or Wendell can be playing the 5. So we can definitely work all those guys in. So I think I'd rather see a Paulo Banchero or a Jabari Smith Jr.
Yeah, I mean, those are good points about him and the comparison to Mo Bamba, which I think is why we have pause over it for sure. That I was thinking that before you even mentioned it, so you Jeff Turnered me. But it's a pretty big mystery because you don't know. But you always want to take, big men are hard to find that can play. You've seen a lot over the years drafted. There's plenty of YouTube videos about guys that were touted as centers coming out of college, and teams try to snap them up because they're hard to come by. But maybe we don't get one through the draft. Maybe we have to go get one another way and through a trade or something like that. And I mean, I don't know, maybe he'll prove me wrong, and maybe he'll turn me around, but it's fact or fiction as of today. And as of today, I say fiction. So I'm with you. But you mentioned Mo Bamba a lot. So let me take over this fact or fiction and ask you the next one. Mo Bamba will be on the Magic roster next year. You just told me about how much you dislike Mo Bamba. You kind of went a little hard.
I think I showed my hand. I did go a little hard on the Mo Bamba hate, didn't I? I apologize.
Mo plays well. If Mo comes out and plays well in the first few minutes, he can sustain it for long periods of time. But if he comes out and has some duds, gets some fouls, or doesn't make some plays, some turnovers, misses a dunk or something like that, then it kind of hangs with him the whole game.
It does. And that's the between the ears stuff that I was talking about. And that's why I'm going to say it's fiction that he's not with the squad next year. I think there is an opportunity to move him here at the trade deadline. I think that could happen. Or, he's going into restricted free agency and maybe someone else wants to take a chance. I don't think the front office is enamored with him. I know it's their pick. So front offices never like to put forward that public face where they made a mistake. They always want to re-sign their guy. But I believe more in the front office than I believe in Mo Bamba. I think the front office can eat their pride and they won't bite at a price that's too high. I'm going to propose a trade in just a moment where we could potentially bring back a big man with some upside who's young as well. So I'm going to go ahead and say, I wish you well, Mo. I hope you get success, just not too much somewhere else. He's not going to be with us next year.
I'm going to say fact here.
Okay.
And I like the prospect of somehow moving him out and getting somebody else in or whatever. But I'm going to go ahead and play devil's advocate on this one and say that I think Mo gets along well with a lot of the members of our team. And I think because, like you said, he is a pick of this group, I think they're going to want to try to hang on to him. And as long as nobody comes over the top, they just have to find a deal that works better to have him be the guy who comes off the bench. He needs to be our center that comes off the bench and gets bench minutes, and you need to give him a contract that I think works with that. And I think I could see that happening with Mo Mamba, because I don't think a ton of other teams are going to come calling with the big money, but I think Mo would even take a pay cut to stay with us, because I think he's formed a camaraderie with his squad and people see it going forward and improving. And I think that will help Mo Mamba improve as well. When he got onto this team early, there was a lot of weird stuff going on and people in and out, and then they just dumped all the players he was playing with. So I think, and he was injured for a while, so he didn't get that, like, he didn't get in the rotation. He wasn't feeling it. I'm not ready to give up on Mo quite yet. He does go into the Bambi mode from time to time, and he falls out of favor, but he can drop 28 on the Sixers and a half. So hopefully he meets us somewhere in the middle and becomes a player in the middle there. So I'm going to say that they find a way to try to keep Mo Mamba on this roster. I'm not sure how, but I think they will.
I mean, I guess if he comes back for a sweetheart deal, he did drop 28 points and a half, but the guy he was guarding dropped 50 in like 3 quarters. So there's that. I just get frustrated with Mo, and I've talked about this before. His strengths, or what he likes to do, are diametrically opposed. He's a shot blocker and a 3-point shooter. Right. So if you're always away from the rim, you're playing away from your other strength of blocking shots. So
I hate to see it, because I love big men being in the post, get a post game, get the hook going like Rolo, learn from him. That's what I want from him.
Can you imagine him with a hook? Yeah. Can you imagine
who's blocking
7 foot?
No one.
Right. The 7'10" with the wingspan. Like, come on, get that little bunny hook that Rolo has. I mean, Rolo will go into a game and consistently drop like 12, 14 points with the move that everyone knows he's going to do, but they can't stop it.
Only Taco Fall and Bobo can stop it.
Yeah, there you go, man. There you go. And some things we may not be able to stop, some things that may be out of our control, is at the trade deadline, Pich. And on the move here, you're on the move, you're moving around, and some players may also be on the move. Mm-hmm. And we may not want to see it. I know I've grown enamored with Gary Harris, and Terrence Ross has just been, I love the torch, love seeing him on the squad, and especially when he heats up. But the reality is those guys may not fit with the timeline of the team. And so what we're going to do right now is propose some trades that you think may or may not happen for these two players. Pich, you're going to take Gary Harris, and I'm going to take Terrence Ross, and then I think we have some bonus there at the end. What are you seeing are some likely landing spots for Gary Harris potentially?
Well, this is a very tough thing to predict, but I have 3 spots where I'd like to see Gary go. And 3 that I think are not super unlikely, although maybe the first one goes against exactly what I'm saying. I can see him in a Sixers uniform. There's something about it. Maybe it's because Tobias Harris already has Harris on the back of a Sixers jersey, where I just feel like I can feel it. But Philly's a team that needs a part like that if they're going to really get to, beating the Bucks in the playoffs and, get to that next level. And Gary is showing that, like, he can do more with more time. And I think if he went to Philly, he could really be the little piece that could help get them over to the top. Now, I'm not exactly how he gets there, because they want to move Ben Simmons, and we're not getting Ben Simmons out of this deal because they're asking way too much for Ben Simmons, by the way.
Right.
But if a third team got involved, I think it could work out where they end up with Harris and we end up with an expiring contract of somebody else or something like that. And I feel like there's not a lot of risk here for Philly, because they either get the player that they've seen from Harris so far this season, or that his contract expires and they don't bring him back. I just feel like it'd be a good fit for him, and they've seen him enough times to know what he brings to the table.
And to your point, Pich, about a 3-team trade, that $17 million player exception, which can help to match salary in a 3-team trade, that would be a great place for that. So I see where you're going with that, sir.
So then for my next two, I go out to the Western Conference, and they remember this guy from when he played with the Nuggets. But these are a couple of teams who are toiling in the middle, but they're definitely going to be playoff teams, but they need that extra boost. They're the Sixers of the West. And first off, I've got Utah out here. I feel like they need another good perimeter defender to get over that hump, somebody to really shut down the other guys. And I know I've heard rumor of them shopping Joe Ingles, who's getting older, might retire. He has a pretty high contract. This could be the good swap that Utah needs for the same reason, where like if it works out with Harris, great, we'll re-sign him. And if it doesn't, we're out of it and we move on with our day. Because Joe Ingles used to be a really important key factor for them, and I think he still kind of is, but I think Harris would be better for them on both ends of the floor. So it's something they should look into. Now, I don't know what Utah has that we need. Nothing really, probably.
Well, do we get Joe Ingles back in that?
I think we would get Joe Ingles in that, and then we have to figure out whether he's going to, retire or whether he's going to play another couple years. He's 34, so
Joe Ingles is another guy that gets under people's skin, notorious for getting under players' skin. Imagine a bench unit with Moritz and Joe Ingles. People would be pissed at the Magic, even more than the Bulls fans are. Oh, there you go, man.
Joe and Moritz just going at it. At the practice facility. The other team that I think is in the same kind of boat is probably Memphis. Memphis is obviously they've got Ja Morant. Everybody's heard of him, and we're going to see the Grizzlies soon. But Dylan Brooks just went down, and he's a key player for them. He's going to be out for, I think, 3 to 5 weeks. And Gary Harris fills that void then would be a solid veteran on a team that's pretty young. I mean, they have Bane. They have some players that you don't really know. I'm looking forward to actually seeing them when they play against the Magic. But I feel like they're another piece away from being a legit contender in the West. And I think they could probably get Harris from us for not having to give up too much. But they may have something would be interesting because they got a lot of young players. I think they still have a lot of their draft picks. So I feel like they're another possibility that may not be a sexy one that you'd hear on sports radio, Utah, Memphis, but they're teams that are contending in the West and need a piece to get over the hump. But I think Harris could be that.
Hey, all those make sense to me, and it is hypothetical. I don't want to see either of these guys go, honestly, but I just think it's kind of inevitable. I think I would love to have Gary Harris back on even a reasonable contract. We've talked about this in previous episodes. If he'd come back with the salary cap going up in a couple of years, even for like something like 15 a year or like 12 to 15, like a Terrence Ross type contract, I would sign on the dotted line immediately, because even if it doesn't work out, it's like, we want minutes for other guys. Gary can still go, he can still go on that contract, easily tradable. But so I don't want to see either of these guys go. My job was to scour the interwebs for some potential Terrence Ross trades. And I think there's maybe some more suitors there because of the 1.5 years on his contract. It's not just a rental. You got a little time to help him mesh with the team. And honestly, I just kind of searched around the internet. I'm not good at coming up with these trades. I'm not great at this hypothetical thinking. The CBA is ridiculous. I'm going to spend some time this summer digging through it, but it's like 300 pages. And then there's the constitution and bylaws of the NBA that kind of run all of these trades. And I just don't have enough knowledge on it to try to figure out these trades. Shams Charania sent out a tweet a month or so ago now where we're looking for a first round pick. Duh. I mean, aren't we all? Isn't every team looking for a first round pick for every guy that they're trading?
Sure.
I just don't know if we're going to get it unless it's a really late first round pick in a desperate situation. These were some of the popular trades that I found repeated online over time. The Cavs are better than expected. They're ahead of schedule. And so they might be looking to upgrade one of their pieces. They have Seti Osman. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. He's balled out a couple of times against us. He's 26 years old. He's on his second contract. Kind of a similar player to Terrence Ross, but Terrence is a little bit of a bump up. Terrence has that ability to go off for 30 sometimes. I don't know if Seti Osman really has that, but he does, go off for 15, 20 points a game, a solid forward. So it'd be him coming back and, a late one, a second, maybe that. I think that would be okay, depending on the pick. If we got a first round back with Seti Osman, I would be happy with that. Although he has
I'm going to go on record that I think it's CD.
Okay, I'm with it. He's under contract till 23-24. So I don't know if that breaks it for us. I don't know what our front office is looking for. Are we looking for just an expiring contract because they want to fill out the roster in their own way? I'm not sure. Another popular trade destination is someone where we moved Evan Fournier last year to the Celtics. People seem to be enamored with getting Aaron Nesmith here, who was taken 1 pick above Cole Anthony. I think we made out in that deal. But this is a guy that, shot really well from college, and he could be potentially that another shooter in the mix, a 3-point shooter. Someone else would have to come back, maybe like someone that they're frustrated with. I've seen Grant Williams' name passed around, but I don't love that. Yeah, I don't love that. So again, I'd rather have Gary Harris. Now, I have one for you here. This is
you'd rather have Terrence Ross.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. I'd rather have Terrence Ross. Another one that's been talked about a lot is the Lakers. Talen Horton-Tucker coming back with Kendrick Nunn. I don't watch a lot of Lakers. They're West Coast. I'm a teacher. I go to sleep at like 9:30. So I don't catch a lot of Lakers games, and I don't like their style of basketball. I don't care to watch them anyways. No. But I guess Kendrick Nunn has been crap in the bed. They want to get out from that. And Talen Horton-Tucker would be the piece that would come back. They are essentially all in. I mean, they've created this monster, and now they kind of have to go with it. So you got to upgrade now, and Terrence Ross is definitely an upgrade from Talen Horton-Tucker right now. That he fits with our team a little bit better. He's a younger guy. The only thing that hurts about this is we drafted Talen Horton-Tucker, and now we're going to be trading Terrence Ross to get him back. But if Terrence is going, Terrence is going. So if we can get a piece like THT back, that would be awesome. Now, this is the one that I don't know how people out there will feel about it, but I'm going to the West for the Suns, and this is the last one I have. I know you probably haven't heard of this guy, Pich. I know you don't watch a lot of Suns. Jalen Smith. He's only in his second year. I don't know where he came out for college. He's a center. And the Suns did not pick up his 3rd-year option on a rookie contract. That is highly unusual. And it just shows that they've really gone sour on him. Okay. So I've already expressed my frustration with Mo Mamba. And I'm not necessarily saying that Jalen Smith is better than Mo Mamba. But, when he did get some time, when Jalen Smith did get some time, when DeAndre Ayton went down, he averaged about 16 points and 10 rebounds. Granted, Chris Paul is his point guard. He's the point god. That makes any guy good. Bismack Biyombo, I think, put up a big game recently. So if he can do it, anyone can. But this is a 3rd-year guy, and he's a center that we could try out when in the area that I think we are thinnest. I think we're the thinnest at the center position. No disrespect to Moritz Wagner. He's a little undersized. No disrespect to Wendell or Mo, even though I did disrespect Mo just moments ago. So I kind of like
covered that.
Yeah, we covered that. I'm sorry, Mo. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
Yeah, don't say we, say you.
No, I
don't want him mad at me.
Yeah. So I think a trade like that, they're trying to get out from under the Dario Saric contract. I don't know if that guy's going to play anymore for the rest of his NBA career. So something like Dario Saric and Jalen Smith coming back for Terrence Ross could give us a little bit more depth at the 5. Those are the 4 I came up with, but it really depends on what the front office is seeing in the draft too. Where do they see the strength of the draft? What do they, do they think they're going to aim for a forward? Are there a lot of forwards here? It kind of looks like that. Hopefully we don't take another guard. So, where do we think we're going in the draft? That kind of will depend on what we want to get back. And maybe they want to open some flexibility. Maybe they don't want to take a lot back. Maybe they don't want to take a young player like a Jalen Smith, like a Talen Horton-Tucker, because they don't want to try to figure out any more minutes for any new guys.
Right.
We'll see.
I mean, there's a lot of pieces that can go. Like we talked about, the Pacers are trying to really unload people. And I feel like Miles Turner being out there kind of hurts the people who might want a Mo Bamba. So like if he goes, then now maybe Mo Bamba becomes a little more attractive to other people. And maybe he could be one of the people that gets moved. What if somebody came calling for Rolo's services? He's been sitting on our bench. Maybe somebody needs a big man that bad. He's played very well when he's played this year. So there could be any number of shifts that move around, and by the time we sit here next show, we could be missing all these guys or none of these guys. I would really like to see Harris and Ross both stay. I think they add some veteran stuff, and I think they're veterans that are comfortable coming off the bench, can score you 20 points a night and defend and do a lot of things well. And it's tough to find a veteran with their skill level that's comfortable coming off the bench. Now, will they take the pay of a guy that's coming off the bench? I don't know. That's for the future, but I like their fit on this team. I think it's going well. And unless we get something back mega, I didn't really like any of the trades either one of us proposed for those guys. so I wasn't excited about any of those. So unless something big is happening, I don't know about, let's stay the course.
I agree. All right. So that's on the move. Hopefully no one's on the move. Hopefully we keep the pieces and we can build from here if everyone takes those team friendly contracts. Now, what's also not on the move is that shiny piece of hardware back there, Pich. The Court Cousins championship belt is staying with the Pich for one.
I'm gonna get it
for one more round. Yeah, you wanna gloat. You wanna gloat, you bastard. Okay, it looks good. Hubris, my friend. Pride before the fall. That is all I will say to you.
I don't know if you noticed that I added some of these stickers, which if you're in the Orlando area, they have our QR code on them. You might find them in the bathrooms of local bars, or really anywhere. We were handing them out to people, and boy, we didn't mention it yet, but that was a pretty fun part of our trip too. Was actually just talking to people. A few people came up to us and recognized us. That was crazy. It was super fun to meet some of the other guys who do podcasts and all that stuff, and meeting people, and it's a lot of fun. So I think next year is going to be even better. But yeah,
absolutely.
I got to bring this and be out front of the Amway Center for it, and that was a lot of fun.
You got the hardware for one more round, Pich. Congratulations.
So we had our 4 sets of bets, and you had a good week. You won 3, and I only won 1. But because last week I won 3 and you won 1, that means that we're tied. And as we decided, in the words of the immortal Ric Flair, to be the man, woo! You got to beat the man, and you didn't beat the man. So the title stays here. And that's how that goes.
I did not beat the man. It was a little bit of a moral victory. I felt good. I think I just messed up the line. Let's go over last week's wagers before we get into the clean slate for this round. We bet on free throws made. I took the over. We took over 17.7. I think they got 17.8. It was that close. I thought we got way more than that. Thank God. We took defense by quarters, which was kind of just a random. I know there was some calculations into it, but I was kind of just flying by the seat of my pants. You selected the good quarters for sure. I selected the good quarters. Our defense was better in quarters 1 and 4. I won that 308 to 348. Terrence Ross, games over 25 points. The line was at 0.5. He just needed one torch lighting, and he didn't get it. Peach took the over and was disappointed.
Well, he was lit one game, but he only scored 21 points.
Yeah, it wasn't all the way lighting. It wasn't all the way lit. He didn't become the shining comet in the sky that we needed. And then the last one was the Chuma Okeke steals. This is where I messed up. I just set the line a little too high. He had in the previous 6 games just been playing out of his mind defensively. He was averaging 2 steals per game those previous 6 games. I set it at 1.8. He came under at 1.5. I probably should have said it there in retrospect, but you live and you learn. I got 3 wins. Peach got that 1. And again, the champion retains. So we're on. And
we had talked about on the last show, just as a gentleman's bet, who would score the first points for the Orlando Magic at the Lakers game that we went to. And I won with Mo Mamba. We both took 2 players from the starting lineup. But you know who scored the first points of the game from the free throw line? Mr. Dwight Howard, who was probably one of the guys who scored the last time I was there so many years ago in 2007 for us. So it was a weird connection. Another one of the weird connections from the trip that really kind of put it together. Yeah. Very odd. Anybody else could have scored that first point, but it was Dwight Howard. So that was kind of neat.
So none of that you said just matters, Peach, because now it's a clean slate. All right. It doesn't matter. Well, I guess it does matter that you're a champion because I do have to beat you. But for those of you who are just joining us, we do every month a Court Cousins championship. We have 2 episodes a month, and in each episode we present 4 wagers, 2 each. and we're trying to get the other one to slip up, and hopefully we can win more than the other and accrue more points and become the Court Cousins champion for that month. So, Pich, it looks like you have the first wager that you are going to present to me, sir. Go for it.
All right, man. Well, we've done, all the points by quarter. We did our offense last time we did our defense. I want to do something else where I've got to add numbers up at the end of the game because I love this. I like looking at all the numbers and seeing how things are going. And I propose to you right now, we talked a little bit about draft. We've talked a bunch about our bench. We've talked a lot of these guys today. I want to propose to you the bench draft. And I'm going to say the main 4 players that come off our bench are Chuma, they are Harris, it is Moritz, and it is T. Ross. Their points during this next set of games, we each get 2. Go ahead and have your first round draft pick. This is going to be fun. We'll each have 2 players, and whoever scores most at the end of the set of games will be the victor.
Oof, this is tough. I don't like having the first pick. I don't like that it's me because I look at this lineup and T. Ross is the bucket getter, but he's not the hot player right now. As you said, he only had really one good game.
Or is he
recently? Yeah. Does he? Yeah. How does he respond? Does he come back? That's all he does is score. It's between Chuma and Ross for me, and I'm going to go with the torch just because if he can get a couple games, that can sway it. The guy can score 30, and I'm going to go with T. Ross. I think he'll turn it around a little bit here in the next 7 games. We're playing the Bulls, Pacers, Grizzlies, Celtics, Trailblazers, Jazz, Suns, Nuggets, and Hawks. I think he's going to turn it on for a number of those games. I want T. Ross's points.
Fair enough, sir. I got to say I'm a little shocked that you went that way.
I know.
But I feel like you're not going to be shocked that I'm going to go ahead and take Moritz Wagner, which I think pretty much opens the door for who you're taking. Because even though I have turned around and enjoyed the play of Chuma in the last set of games, I cannot stake my claim on whether he fills the stat sheet or not. I've been burned too many times.
And it might surprise you that I'm going to take Gary Harris.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
So he's done by
no, Chuma has been, I love Chuma. He's been filling it up, but Gary Harris is Mr. Consistent. He's been the first guy off the bench. Mosley has enjoyed taking Suggs off pretty quickly and then playing Suggs in that backup point guard role with either Cole or Suggs on. Granted, maybe I'm double thinking myself now. He does like to have Suggs and Cole on the court at the end, and Chuma sometimes is on the court at the end of the game. But I'm going to stick with Gary Harris and Terrence Ross. I'm going to stake my claim on the veterans, have that veteran moxie, and I'm going to go with those 2 guys to score more points than Chuma and Moritz.
Well played, sir. The only reason I took Moritz first is because I thought for sure you were just going to go ahead and scoop up Chuma, leaving Harris to me, but you've swindled me, but we'll see how it pans out.
I told you I'm the learned Rolo today, man. I got the glasses on.
Well, both of your guys are on the trade block too. So if they leave during this match, then you're missing a fire.
What the hell happens then? We'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. Okay, Pich, I got one for you. Wendell Carter Jr. is averaging a double-double right now. 13 points, about 10 rebounds. In the last 6 games, he's had 2 double-doubles. So I know he's averaging a double-double, but he's not getting one every game. In the last 6, he's had 2. In the next, we have 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. In the next 9, over under 3.5.
Well done.
And he's playing the Bulls tonight. And
I know
he likes playing the Bulls.
He does. And he is averaging a double-double. But yeah, he does seem to go heavy in one and not the other some nights. So it gets a little off key. 4 out of 9. Do I think he's going to get at least 4 out of 9? I'm going to go with it. I'm going to take the over.
Whoa.
Wendell's done pretty well for me in these bets when I bet on him. And I'm not going to be here getting excited about him not getting a double-double. So I'd rather ride the excitement train, my friend.
Definitely.
I'll take the over.
I'm kind of stepping away from the daily betting just because it's been draining me, the daily NBA betting. But as a rule, I don't take unders because then I'm rooting for someone to not do well. I just don't like the mojo.
I'd do it if people on other teams.
Sure, but
All
definitely
day.
not for our
Yeah.
team. Definitely not for our team.
No.
Yeah. So, and the only thing I don't like about unders too is that's the only bet you can lose before the game's even over. Like I guess supposedly if you bet an over and he's like nowhere near it and the game's about to end, but it can be in the second quarter and you could already have lost your bet with an under. So I just don't like the mojo of unders. I don't like that you can lose a bet during a game in an under. So I don't like that I'm on the underside. I appreciate your confidence in Wendell Carter Jr. What wager do you have for me next, sir?
Well, next, here's a guy that we probably haven't talked about enough on this show because the way he's balled out since he's returned to this lineup, the team has been winning games. They're playing better. It's really helped the rotation because Cole or he can stay out there, and that's Mr. Suggs. But I want to talk about Suggs' defense right now because he has 5 blocks in the last 6 games. And we talked about it early when we first started the show. We tried to get some Suggs block bets going and stuff like this because he was really playing defense at a high level. So I want to combine his blocks with his steals. Right now, he's averaging 2.5 of both of those combined per game. And it may seem small, but his defensive play overall is really good. So per game, is he going to continue to have 2.5? That's where I'm setting the line. Suggs in the next 9 games. Can he maintain this pace?
Oof. I just went on a whole tirade about how I don't take unders. So how much of a fool would I look if I take an under now? This is tough, man. I mean, you said it right at his average. It's tough to say if guys are going to play to the back of the card, but this is a rookie we're talking about. This is a new guy. So I think the sky is the limit for him. He's only going to continue to get better. I think either we don't know right now. Actually, we're going to find out. They're announcing tonight the Rising Stars Challenge. So Jalen's either going to be on the Rising Stars Challenge and have a little swag, or he's going to be left off and he's going to have a little bit of a chip. Either
Kinda
one
rooting for that.
either one I like. And so I will take the over. I'll take the bait and I'll take the over, sir. The guy, I mean, he's been playing tremendous defense. What was the statistic I used last time? The player that he's defending shoots 36%. Right. I mean, that's pretty dang good. He's a lockdown defender if I've ever seen one. He's only going to get better. So
he's doing a great job. He is definitely doing a great job defense, and I wouldn't want to be on the under of anything he has either. But this is about the actual steals and blocks that he records. Sometimes his defense doesn't really show up in the stat sheet as much as it does and that's what it's about. So I feel okay with the under here, even though I hope he continues to rise and become one of the best defenders there is.
I got kind of burned with the Chuma with that too, because even in the games that we saw, and this is true of Suggs too, the guys are really great at getting deflections. They're getting their hands into the passing lanes. They're the ones causing the turnover, but they're not getting the steal in the stat sheet. And that
you force a guy into a bad pass. You don't get anything.
I might be a victim of that, but I'm going to ride with our boy Suggs. So keep it on the defense train. That's been one of the highlights recently. Jamal Mosley came in as a coach and said, defense. And he said that's going to be the identity. So I was a little doubtful at first. Didn't really seem like we were playing very good or very consistent defense there for a little while. But in the last 6 games, the Orlando Magic are 9th in the league in defensive rating. My query to you, Pich, will the Orlando Magic remain in the top 10 in defense over the next 9 games going into the All-Star break?
Man, this is a tough one, and it's probably a tough one to look up as well. Since I've been rolling on this vibe and train, I'm going to go ahead and say that we do. So I'm going to say that we do. Just because I'm right. Once I'm on the positive train, I don't feel like getting off. And hopefully the train I get on tomorrow morning is positive for that matter. But yeah, I just feel like, our defense is a strength that I think we've had for a long time. Even in some of the down days with a team maybe running it up, we're still playing good defense and maybe they're just hitting shots. But man, it's helping on the defensive end. All this, who's coming off the bench where, and we're not mixing in weird guys anymore. And everybody knows their role and their spot. And it's really helping us on defense, which is helping transition into the offense. So I think it's going to continue for sure. I'd like to say it stays the same.
Well,
Stays in
you
the
got
top
me. You got me in some catch-22s here, Pich. I'm on the wrong side of some of these that I hope I'm wrong on, and I hope I don't get the points because that would mean the team is playing well. So we'll see what happens in this round of the Court Cousins Championship, and we'll be checking back in with you with 2 weeks with a new episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. If you're here with us still, please make sure to subscribe. It means a lot. Like, share the video, and we'll see you soon, everybody. Peace.
Thanks for coming.